What if I told you that in less than 24 hours, you could pick up a brand new hero and play them in your rank and dominate? Well, in this video, we're going over the 8 easiest heroes to learn fast and quickly add them to your hero pool so you can do just that. But if you want some free skins, then today, tomorrow, and the next day, I'm going to be co-streaming the World Cup with skin drops on. Winston, Wrecking Balls, and Yada, Ramatra, and more are going to be free to earn. All you have to do is come and watch me 4 to 8 p.m. CST today, tomorrow, and the next day. I will see you there. Now, not in any particular order, let's start off with number 8, and this is Moira. Now, I'm not going to say that Moira is the easiest character to learn in the game, but I will say that you can realistically pick this character up and perform at a very high level and climb very, very quickly if you incorporate these 2 things. Number 1, with your healing management, all you have to do is lightly tap it onto squishies that have a little bit of damage on them. It heals quite a bit over time, and you don't need to spray all of your reserve to heal one person. In addition to that, realize just what you can get away with on this character by being aggressive. This character can dive in with tanks, can duel enemy DPS, and most importantly, peel enemies that are out of position and force them away so that they're no longer a threat to your team. Learning how to push the bounds on this character, what you can get away with, and just how you can get impact on this character by both healing, dealing damage, and getting kills is your route to victory. Now, the next character on the list that is not easy to master, but he can get a lot of value if you just incorporate these simple things when learning him, and it's Hammond. Now, there's a lot of complexity to really master this character, but to get a ton of value with him, this is all you need to do. Number 1 is gather information. You can roll around the map, and if you're not engaging, you are impossible to kill. Look at what the enemy team is playing. Look where your team is positioned, and find information about just what can actually deal with you. Whether that's a stun, whether that's a sleep, whatever the case may be, learn about what the enemy team is playing. Then, I want you to put yourself in a position where you're going to slam on the enemy. This could be putting yourself ready to roll over top of them. This could be putting yourself on the high ground. You are ready to slam, and then you go in and engage when your teammates are within line of sight of your slam, and that's going to get you a ton of value. And this seems really simple, and it's because it is. Wrecking Ball can get a ton of value just by incorporating these basic things, and I know this because I've coached quite a few Wrecking Balls that have all gotten to very high rank, most even Grandmaster, by incorporating them. Now, the next character that we have for you in this video is Hanzo. We all know that Hanzo can be a little bit difficult to learn how to aim in, but luckily for you, if you're learning how to play the character, you can get a ton of value without hitting hardly any of your shots, or at least not aiming for them. Hanzo has the power of being able to play really, really far angles and has the mobility to get out of any sticky situation. This means on Hanzo, I want you to take your time, find an angle adjacent to your team, and play the numbers game. Firing into the enemy team as much as possible, trying to mimic their movements when they're walking left and right, and logging them as many times as you possibly can. The reality on Hanzo is that you're going to inherently want to push up closer because you want to become more accurate, right? You want to hit your shots, and you feel like you're going to miss your shots if you're too far away, but your goal isn't to go and force a hit, and it doesn't even matter if you miss 5 shots but dink the 6th one. That is enough. So play to live, play your numbers, and focus most on trying to play that numbers game where even if you only have a 11% chance to kill somebody, keep repeating that over and over and over, playing at these safe positions and knowing that you will eventually get value. That's how you get value on this character right away without even knowing anything else. And then as you improve, as you get better, you're going to start to know when you can be more aggressive. You're going to start to hit some more shots on purpose, and then you're going to really pop off this character. But you could really pop off with him right away, right when you pick him up, by incorporating these tips. Now, the next character is Brig, and Brig is by no means an easy character to master, but you can get a lot of value on this character right away if you incorporate these simple things. Number 1, realize that Brig is a bodyguard. You are not a tank. You are not a brawler. You are not running people down. You are protecting people. And this means that you need to find someone that needs your protection, first and foremost. There's a lot of characters that could really use your protection. Anyone that doesn't have great mobility or can get dove will be unkillable if you play with them. Think about a character like Ana. or maybe even a Zen or a Cassidy. These characters become exponentially more difficult to kill. All you have to do is just stand with them. Don't force anything. Don't force triggering any of your abilities. Conserve and wait. And if the enemy team never actually dive y'all or never are able to kill y'all, y'all will win the game. So keep that in mind. Don't try to become overeager and force things down. That's how you get picked off. Brig is a character about patience, just like Hanzo was a character about patience. In a similar way, right off the bat, using Brig ultimate defensively is going to get you a ton of free kills. A lot of people will see you kind of a little bit low and they're like, oh, let's get on the Brig. You dive the Brig, you pop ult, you get all that health back, and they're just going to int into you. You're going to get a crazy amount of value, and you have a ton of spacing tools with your whip, not to mention your bash, and altogether, you can get a ton of value on this character by just existing, being very hard to kill, making your teammates hard to kill, and playing patient and passively. Now, the next character that we have for you in this video is none other than Mei. And there's a lot of complexity to this character, but at the start, you don't need any of that complexity to dominate and carry because your opponents are going to be inting into you a lot. Realize that there are certain places on the maps, any choke points, that are kind of like Mei's kill zone, where if the enemy tank ever walks past those chokes, you are there and ready to just wall them off simply. And unless their team helped them, which the lower in rank you are, the less likely that's going to happen, those players are just going to die. The tanks are going to die, they're going to feed, and you're going to get a ton of value. But even outside of that, Mei is just a really strong DPS. Consistently spamming your icicles, trying to find value with your damage and potentially even getting crits here and there, but just being this ever-present threat that prevents enemies from getting overly aggressive on your team, and any mistakes that the enemy teams make, you could just wall them off and get your team a ton of value. In addition to that, I want you to take extra note of where the supports are actually positioning in, especially if there's supports that need line of sight in order to help their tank. So you can easily wall off a tank from the line of sight of their Ana, for instance, when they're too pushed up, and that Ana will either have to push out of position to help, but it might be too late, or the tank is just going to die altogether. This stuff is not going to take you that long to practice, and I also would suggest going into a practice range with unlimited walls and just get comfortable throwing them up at different ranges. It's going to take you like an hour to become an expert at it, so I would highly suggest it. Now, the next character on this list is Junker Queen. Could be a pretty difficult character to master, but picking her up and dominating on her is actually simpler than you think. Junker Queen doesn't necessarily want to even fight the tank. A lot of the time, she wants to avoid the tank, which seems a little bit strange, but if Junker Queen has an advantaged matchup in the tank duel, so if they get to close range against a Sigma, or if they're fighting a Winston from close range, then yeah, she could swing on them, deny them, and that's fantastic. But in a lot of situations, you are kind of containing space and holding space, looking for an opportunity to pivot on an out-of-position person. Realize that if a Cassidy is pushed a little bit too far forward, or an Ana is just up to the point where if you just shout and rush in, you're going to be able to kill that person before they can even back away. And then all of a sudden, sure, you're leaving that enemy tank alone, but you're killing their entire team. And momentum is on your side, where oftentimes the best way to learn Junker Queen is to really learn your limits and try to all in a lot more. Go in a lot more aggressive. Play to your strengths and just realize just how much you can get away with on this character if you go in for more, you're attacking squishies, and you're not just playing like a peel or a protect style of Junker Queen. Definitely not recommended. Now, the next character that I got for you in this video is Baptiste. And to pick up and learn this character is not very hard because you can play him very selfishly at the start and get a crazy amount of value. All you need to know about Baptiste to start off with is that you have massive amounts of burst heals, which you can heal up players very quickly and basically keep a tank alive through anything. You have damage that is very good at forcing DPSs off of certain off angles and applying pressure, and you could just kill things yourself straight up. Your immortality field just used on yourself. If you're in any 1v1, all of a sudden that DPS or support is just going to lose because they can't focus on your lamp and then focus on you. You're just going to be able to kill them very easily. And then your ability to transverse between high and low is completely busted. Let me give you this example. You're on the high ground and an enemy jumps up onto you on the height. you drop down to the lower. And when you do, you're already charging your exo boots. They fall down chasing you, you pop back up to height. They chase you up to height, you fall back down to low, you pop back up to height. You can just keep doing that. Keep elevating and dropping back down over and over and over again. That level of mobility, which is exactly what it is. Its mobility is insanely strong, and it's something that you should learn to abuse on this character. Now, last but certainly not least, we have Cassidy. And Cassidy isn't the easiest character in the game to learn, but he is a character that is very worth learning for not that much effort right now. Cassidy is amazing, but the biggest mistake that players make on him is they position very poorly. And here's what you gotta understand. Cassidy is not a character that can take really wide flanks by himself, simply because his mobility is really lacking. A roll is all you have to get out of any sticky situation. So for Cass, most of the time you're taking subtle off angles at best, but you're trying to maintain line of sight between you and your support, and ideally play at a cross point between your tank and your support, somewhere in the middle or adjacent to the middle, where you can have like semi line of sight between both your tank and your support. The idea here is that if you get capsized on, you are in a zone that both your tank and your support could potentially help, especially if you manage to get some picks and some value before you die. That's going to be the best thing. And then in addition to that, realize that because of Cassidy's burst damage, he plays in this range better, because when enemies are just jiggling in and out of certain pieces of cover, a Cassidy can hit a dink on somebody and kill them out of nowhere. Now, the last tip I would give you on this character, if you're trying to learn him very quickly, is your grenade oftentimes is something that dissuades enemies from coming in. And as long as you hold it, you are a threat and you are demanding of a certain level of respect. I do realize that you want to throw it aggressively and try to get all these picks, but most of the time it's going to be far better for you to conserve it and use it to punish rather than to make a really insane play offensively. Because just Cassidy being allowed to exist in the areas he wants to, you're going to get a ton of value just shooting your gun. No need to go and force something or try to force something, roll out of cover, throw your grenade aggressively, only for you to put yourself in a bad situation where you could get dove and killed, because you're going to win the fight as long as you were allowed to exist. You're going to pop off and carry that game. So the burden of action a lot of the time is on the opponents, especially if they're on a dive. Anyways, if you have any questions about these, definitely let me know in the comments down below. And don't forget to watch me live 4 p.m. CST this entire weekend so that you can earn some free skins and watch some teams pop off. Canada versus USA tonight is going to be pretty sick. Anyways, thank you so much for coming by, and I'll see you next time.